Hello, readers. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author, where we ask authors important questions like, why would you agree to be on this podcast? I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, Editorial Director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Our guest this week is Susan McCauley, spec fic writer and Disney's Haunted Mansion survivor. Susan is an award-winning writer, producer of paranormal fantasy and horror films for adults, young adults, and middle-grade audiences and readers. She fell in love with writing theater and film, but she was 8 years old. She loves travel, animals, movies, theater, taekwondo, and books, of course. If she's not your favorite now, she will be after. I got all caught up in that she fell in love with writing theater and film, because I read it as she fell in love with writing theater, but I suppose that's also true, isn't it?
It is. I love it all, but I love fiction. Fiction and screenwriting, those are my two favorites.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, theater friends, don't get mad at me. I still like plays.
I mean, you can still like plays even though you don't really want to write them as much. I mean, I think that's fair.
Right. I mean, I'm not as comfortable in that, in that area, but I still like it.
Different genre. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally different genre. So about that Disney's Haunted Mansion ride,
yes.
Were your parents afraid they scarred you for life?
Well, my mother, I remember being on the ride when I was 3, but according to my mother, she said that I really begged them to go into that haunted house. I don't remember this. And that they reluctantly took me. Uh-huh. And I remember at the end of the ride, have you been on the ride?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We love that.
Okay. Well, you know how you have a friend with you at the end of the ride, right?
Uh-huh. Friend.
Yeah. Okay, so a friend. So I remember cowering on the floor by my parents' legs at that point on the ride, absolutely terrified. And then we get off, and the first thing I did was beg them to take me again.
That's so cool.
So I don't know why. I was absolutely frightened. To this day, I occasionally have bad dreams with that friend coming home with me, but it just captured my imagination. And I was like, I have to go again. And now it's still my favorite ride at Disney.
So cool. Well, that's kind of what Disney does well, right? They really do capture your imagination.
Absolutely. I mean, that ride is old and it's still absolutely brilliant.
It still works.
It does.
So based on your education, that seems pretty evenly balanced between like professional writing and radio and television. Do you have trouble choosing between these two awesome things?
As far as writing,
when you decide what to work on?
Well, I'm starting the second book in the Merlin's Apprentice series soon. And so that's fiction, upper middle grade fiction, straddles YA. And then I'm also starting a new screenplay, but with a sometimes writing partner that I've got another feature in development with. So he and I have got a feature in development, and it's just been, it's called Development Hell, and it is very much in development hell, but it's going forward. It's just taking time. And so I texted him. I was like, I miss writing stuff with you. I want to do something. And so, we have a few companies we pitched to that really, really liked the script, not the ones that ultimately signed us with it. And they were like, well, come bring us something again. So I was like, okay, let's come up with a script that this certain company we think would like, and then we could pitch it to them. And so we're going to work on that together. So that will, I think, help me. So when I'm working on the synopsis right now that I'm going to send it to him to give his, take on. So while he's got it, I can work on the fiction, and then we'll go back and forth. So that's what I'm attempt to accomplish in the next year.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Back and forth with projects. That works for me too. It keeps the productivity going.
It does. And I know sometimes younger writers will ask about, writer's block. And of course I get it. And you sometimes just learn to push through it. But if I really, really, really am stuck, I'll just switch to another project for a few days or a week just to keep the creative juices going. And I can write, but I'm at least taking a break from the thing that had me stumped.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a good lesson for young writers, right? Because if you stop, it is so hard to start again.
Absolutely. And if I'm like totally stumped, I'll just write an email or I'll write a letter. Mm-hmm. It's still writing. It's keeping me going.
Getting you at that keyboard, man. I like it.
Absolutely.
So did you finish a book or a script first? What's the first thing you finished?
Screenplays, for sure. I did my first master's degree was in screenwriting at USC. I'd actually written a screenplay that was horrible before I went to USC.
Oh no!
And then I worked on one before, and it was part of my submission packet, and they accepted me. And then I improved on that one as my thesis project. But my mother loves that script. It's a vampire script. Of course, vampires have come in and out of vogue. My mom's like, I love that script. And I'm like, I've learned so much. I have to totally revise it before it goes anywhere. So I just haven't had the time or the inclination to go back and redo that script. But I mean, it's a good story. I just need to really work on the characters.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have to definitely get our moms, right? Our moms being supportive is the best thing ever, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it is.
I adore it. I have the best moms, let me tell you. So for your first book, how long did it take you to finish it?
Oh, see, that's hard because the first book, really, I don't even remember which one is very first. I know the idea for the first Ghost Hunters. Actually, the first one is actually not published yet. So it was on and off for 4 or 5 years, I think. And then I didn't want to leave that world. It's the first in a trilogy. It's fantasy. And then I didn't want to leave the world. So then I ended up writing what's become Merlin's Apprentice, The Mage, as a spinoff, but it's a prequel.
Oh, interesting.
And then that sat for a while. And then I wrote The Ghost Hunters and everything else. But the germ of the idea for those very first books was when I was teaching middle grade in England. And I was at this old private school, and they had this library that was like, it wasn't falling apart, but they didn't use it, and it had plants growing up, and the faculty would tell the students it was haunted, so the students wouldn't mess with the building. And then they told me they did have some paranormal activity in the school itself, and so I thought, oh my gosh, a ghost in a school. And so that character will actually appear in the book that's not out yet, which will come out hopefully in a few years. But that's where the ideas for some of the ghosts started. In the middle grade fiction, because the middle grade students were just, so easily scared, but fun at the same time, and all their silliness and practical jokes. So I can mix a little bit of humor with the spooky.
Right. And it works really well with middle grade. Yeah.
It does. And I love it it's hard to reach that middle grade audience sometimes without, a vast network of librarians and teachers. Right. But when kids' parents email me and say my son was a reluctant reader and he was reading in the back of the car, or he was sat out at recess to read your book, that just makes every struggle worth it. I get so happy because it's just like, yay.
That's awesome. You're like, that's why I'm doing this.
Yes, that's one reason I love middle grade.
That's wonderful. So in your Ghost Hunter series, because that's the middle grade one, right?
That's middle grade, yep.
So ghosts are a part of life in that world you built. Like they're just a normal part of the life. So yes, accepted, right? Like people know that they are there. Why did you decide to go that route instead of the usual, people are non-believers and just a few believe?
Well, it's part of the society, and honestly, it's not really a class structure, but there's like a very small percentage of the population that can actually see and feel them. So like 98% of the people know that ghosts are real because they've seen what they can do, but they can't see them. So they're very much at the mercy of the psychics, which is a psychic class, and they don't like that. But they especially don't like it because the psychics are the ones in Victorian times that tore the veil between the living and the dead. So they're actually the reason for the problem.
Oh, they caused this whole darn thing.
They caused the whole darn thing, and now they're the only ones they can look to for helping with it. And so so for my protagonist, he's 12. He doesn't want to be a psychic. He's really glad. By the time you're 10 years old in Ghost Hunters, if you're not psychic, you're not going to be a psychic. You're going to be never, or very, very, very rarely ever happens after age 10. And so he's 12. He's happy. He's, popular at school, great with sports. And then he gets in a car accident and he wakes up seeing and hearing ghosts. And so he becomes everything he didn't want to be. And so not only does he have to deal with seeing these scary things sometimes, he's also got to deal with his internal, I don't want anything to do with this, but I have to deal with it. So how does he manage that internal struggle, along with having lost somebody close to him when he was in the accident? Because to me, we talked about Goosebumps, and I love some of the scares in Goosebumps, but I wanted it to be a lot deeper than just a plot.
You wanted that emotional baggage. Like we need that emotional to me, when they're always like, what are the stakes in the story? I'm like, man, emotional stakes are real, people. Like, these are real things,
They are. And even though it's kind of scary, I hope kids will walk away going, okay, yeah, we can lose people we love and it hurts and it sucks, but there's hope. Yeah. There is hope. Maybe we really do go on. I mean, I certainly believe that, but I hope they'll walk away thinking maybe we really do live on and I'll see them again. So, and I think that's part of the core of why I write about ghosts. Everybody usually asks me that, and I'm like, I don't know 100% sure, but I really think that's part of it.
Makes sense to me. There's hope. Hope is one of the things we want people to get out of our work, so that makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in this one, Alex, so that's who you're talking about, right? The main character. First of all, I love that you call him X, because our son's name is Alexander, and we call him Xander, right? And it's spelled with an X.
Awesome.
So we have so I love that that he's just called X by his friends.
I have to tell you really quickly, that character was originally named Ethan, and right like a month before that book was published, my son Alex came to me and said, "Mom, please, I want a character named after me." And I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yes." And so I changed the name, and it took me a good year to start thinking as the character as Alex instead of Ethan. So it's now Alexander Ethan Leonard. I don't think I ever say that in the book, but in my head, that's what it is.
You're like, it's still there. So, I've got all of them.
Yes. Yes. But I wanted a nickname. So we call Alex. I mean, it's Alexander. We call him Alex. But X just worked for the character.
I love it, especially because he's, doing sports, right? So some kind of cute little nickname is almost required, right? So
absolutely.
I love it. Well, speaking of sports, he's playing ghost ball. So yes. I'm very curious because it kind of just looked like football. What's the difference?
So ghost ball is like soccer or our British friends football, and but instead it's like a ball, but they use sigils on the ball to trap a poltergeist inside the ball. So the poltergeist will actually make the ball move on its own. So it presents more challenges. So a player could kick it, but then the poltergeist can zip it this way and that way. So it's much more active.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. Because I didn't get a chance to read the whole book yet, but I did some research. And I was like, this is fascinating. What is this? Oh, that is fun. I love it. I love it.
And then I'm not going to give anything away, but they do use the ghost balls as part of their ghost hunting later.
What? Oh my gosh, that's so clever. Except now I'm feeling bad for the poor poltergeist stuck in that ball.
No, see, I was worried about that too. And that's why I was very clear. It's a poltergeist, not a ghost, because you'll see there's a glossary. So poltergeists are some sort of paranormal energy, but whether they were ever human or not is not really known, but they don't have emotional. Because I struggled with that as a writer. I'm like, I can't trap a person in a ball.
Right. Even if they're wreaking havoc. Yeah. Right. Yes. Okay, very cool. Very cool. All right. I feel better too. So thank you. Especially being middle grade. It could be a human trapped in there if it's adult dark or something, So yeah. Right. I'm glad you thought of that. But I want to switch a little bit and talk about the YA book, In the Devil's Tree. And in that one, you've got the teenagers, they go to take pictures in front of a creepy old tree that's like supposedly haunted. And I totally related to this setup because my daughter and her boyfriend love to go to old abandoned places to take pictures. So I'm wondering, what do you think the attraction is to these kind of places?
I mean, teens, you definitely hear like wanting to go into graveyards, go into haunted places. They seem to want, not all of them, but I've noticed quite a few good that they want to feel scared. Why do they want to feel? I mean, that's a great question. I mean, maybe to come out the other side to say, I conquered that fear. Maybe to prove to themselves they can do it.
Well, I guess that makes sense because as a teenager, you're still trying to figure out where your limits are and, what you like and what you don't. Oh,
absolutely.
That's a good point. Because it totally rang true for me. And then I was like, wait, why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, that's a great question.
Because I'm all like, abandoned place? No way, that floor's going to break and I'm going to die. Like, it doesn't even, but as a teenager, they're all like, ooh. And I have no doubt, I spent my fair share in cemeteries as a teenager, too. So,
but also, my son and I were talking about this recently. A lot of, teenagers don't think obviously we all know we're going to die at some point, but they don't really feel that. So they can go put themselves in a scary situation and boosts their adrenaline and they all get crazy and laugh and they're spooked, but then they're safe.
Right. Now,
it just reminds me. Sorry,
no,
go ahead. I was going to say, it just reminds me, I taught when I was teaching some young high school students, I think they were like 14, 15 in England. And we did The Woman in Black. I taught the book and then the play. And then we went and saw the play. And they were so scared. They were hysterical. They were like 15, jumping up and down, going, "You're going to sleep with your mom tonight," to each other. But they were laughing. So it was really awesome and fascinating just to watch the psychology of it.
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, let's face it, you can't be a good writer if you're not interested in psychology. How else do you create these characters, right? Like, it's part of the gig. So
it has to be, I think.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I was fascinated. I love your explanation. So with your other love being TV and movies, we talked about books a lot. We do this on the podcast. I don't know, writers and stuff. Oh, but yes. Let's face it, we writers also consume a lot of content, right? That's also part of the things that we do. So with your other love being TV and movies, which of your worlds would you make into a movie, and which would you turn into a TV series?
That one is easy for me to answer. Okay. The Ghost Hunters series would be great for TV. There's actually a TV pitch deck. A couple producers are interested, but Netflix overextended themselves. They're cutting back on making content, so I think it's probably going to just hang out for a while. There's other streaming services, granted, but with the economy the way it is, we'll see. But definitely,
hang out for a while is kind of Hollywood's MO, right? Like, that's standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could take 20 years. 20 years. Yeah. But The Devil's Tree would make a great teen film, and I've actually thought about adapting it. And then the other one, The Demon Tailor, my adult horror, would make a great horror film. So, and I really want to adapt both of those for the screen, for film, and I just don't know which. TV, I don't know the TV writing, and I don't know, I don't feel comfortable writing a pilot or anything like that. So I definitely want a showrunner to take that on and, run with that.
Right.
But screenplays, yes. I love writing. I love adapting.
No, I have to say, like, growing up, I always loved, horror and fantasy and sci-fi, and there was almost nothing. The technology didn't exist, and when it did, it was just too expensive. They couldn't produce it. We had Star Trek, and that's about all we had, right? Like, there was nothing else on TV. So it's kind of cool to see now when you go on Netflix, and there's so much fantasy, and sci-fi, and horror, and it's just, it's. I don't know. I just feel like I'm living in a really lucky time where, geeks get to really, really thrive on these stories coming to life.
I love all that. Comic-Con San Diego's gotten huge and given a huge outlet. I'm hopefully going to go next year and have a panel. I'm working on that. We'll see. But
we're going to tell you don't go and come to DragonCon instead, just for the record.
Oh, I want to go to DragonCon. That's on my list.
Yes, we go every year.
Oh, I really want to. I was telling my husband about that recently.
Yeah, we just bought a new car because we were afraid our other car wasn't going to make it this year. This is how much DragonCon affects our life.
I understand. I got a new car because mine was getting old, and I told my husband, I can't drive to book signings in other cities right now. I don't feel safe with this car. So we got a new one. But yeah. So I totally
but plethora of TV, sci-fi, and stuff is what we're talking about. San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh yeah. But I also think is really interesting is how streaming has changed the industry so much. I mean, we used to have these like epic movie stars, like, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, George Clooney. They're obviously still there. But now with Netflix and all these like, genre shows, there are like, they're not micro stars, but they're stars on a different level. And there's so many more of them. So like there's stars of fantasy, there's stars of horror, there's stars of drama, stars of comedy. They're just... It's really interesting. It's really changed the whole industry.
Yeah, of everything, not just TV, but also of books. Because, it used to be you had to sell 1 million books to actually get somewhere. And we can sell 15,000 and be doing really well. So it opens up the genres, right? It opens it up to so many more things. Not that I would say no to selling 1 million books, but it is not necessary to make a career.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that it's changing all. So opening up the playing field is what I would say.
It is.
Just watch out for the poltergeist. Just warning you.
Yes, absolutely.
So is there anything you're working on that you're over the moon excited about?
There is something which is actually, I'm really excited. It's hysterically funny that I'm doing this. It was a fluke. It's going to be my debut picture book, and it has nothing to do with speculative fiction. It is, I know, a producer friend of mine had posted on Facebook that a friend of his was looking for somebody to do a picture book. So I'm like, okay, I know lots of author illustrators. Let me see if I can connect her with somebody. So he connected me to her, and she told me she had a dog. I'm not going to give too much away, but she had a dog who was just like her best friend was there through a bad illness. And they spent 3 months living at the Beverly Hills Hotel while she recovered. And her name's Andrea Eastman. She was a Hollywood super agent. She represented Sylvester Stallone and Barbra Streisand and Dustin Hoffman and all these people. And so she's like, we're talking about the dog in the book. And I'm like, well, I could hook you up with an author illustrator. And as we talked and got along, she's like, I want you to do it. And I was like terrified inside, but I was like, I've written picture books before. I've just never had one published, but I've written them before. And I'm like, okay, yes, I can do it. And she was like, okay, I want you to. And I'm like, okay. And so it's actually turned out really, really, really well. It's super cute. I have no idea how I'm going to slate it in with my paranormal branding and horror stuff, but I think it's just going to be a book for younger readers. I'm a writer. I should be able to write, a lot of different things. Right. Anyway, so it's the illustrator's still working now. In fact, right before we started the show, we were doing sound check. That's who was like sending me, like I was getting to see a sneak peek of the cover. So I'm really excited about it. It's Trooper at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and the Beverly Hills Hotel is doing a book launch for us in December.
That is so fun.
It is going to be just fun and exciting, and I'm hoping we're going to make it a family-friendly event. People might be able to bring their dogs. I'm not sure.
Well, it has to be family-friendly, right? It's picture book.
Absolutely. But the hotel's going to set it all up and do what they think will work the best for the hotel. So I'm excited, though. I think it's going to be a beautiful, super cute book.
Oh, so exciting. That is so much fun. And it is who you know, right? That was just the proof. She was like, you're a writer and I like you, so you do it. It's a perfect illustration of why you put yourself out there.
It is. And I've also heard so many times, like people who've become really successful, they've been asked to do things they didn't feel comfortable with, but they didn't say no. They said yes, and they figured out a way to make it happen. And that was running through my mind. And I was like, yes.
I'm just going to say yes, because that's what I want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really happy with the story. I think it's turned out well. The editor's happy with it. Andrea's happy with it. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, my number one goal is that Andrea and the hotel are thrilled with it. That's what I want the most. And then after that, of course, I hope the readers love it.
That's perfect. I love it. Where'd you find the illustrator?
That was an intensive process.
Oh,
because I own a small publishing company. So I told Andrea, I can write it and we can do traditional, or I can write it and we can do, my publishing company can produce it. I said traditional could take about 2 years after we get the deal, or I can get it done in a year. And she said, I'm not waiting that long. Let's do it. And I was like, okay.
Done.
And so I just did, through SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators.
Oh, good choice. Yes.
Some Facebook groups, and we found lots of brilliant illustrators. Some for an indie book were out of the price range, starting at like $25,000 for illustrations,
some of them
which
are crazy. Yeah.
If you're Scholastic, great. I mean, I get it, but we don't have, that marketing machine behind us. So we found a phenomenal illustrator in the Philippines who's doing a beautiful job.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So exciting. Well, you have to let us know when it launches, and we'll share it on our Facebook page and stuff. So
thank you. I will for sure.
Because we don't do any children's books yet. But we have lots of people that have children, including myself, who has nephews that she loves to buy stuff for. So,
awesome.
So let us know. We'd love to see.
Yes, for sure.
Friday says she's got 3 kids who can test it too.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we've got lots of picture books. That would be great. Or picture book readers. So that would be awesome. And then Spike asked if you write just YA, and we're like, no, because you write YA and middle grade and adult and now picture books. So I guess you just cover all of it.
I do. My focus is definitely paranormal, horror, fantasy, but obviously this picture book, and there's, I have a couple other picture book ideas, and they're not genre fiction. So who knows?
No, we
Maybe
need
I'll
more
do one of
genre
those.
picture books. I think you should do genre picture books.
I have an idea for a genre picture book, but I'm not going to share it. But I have an idea. I just need to work on it.
Yeah, we figured once we're nice and solid, we're going to open up a children line.
Oh,
and
cool.
for our publishing company, for Cursed Dragon Ship, so we're going to open up a child line. We're going to call it Dragon's Egg.
I love it.
It's
that
cute,
is so
right?
Cute.
Yeah, we have to open it just to call it that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course.
Not yet.
I love it.
We're stretched thin already. Just for the record, every time I mention that, my husband's like, "Oh, please don't do that right now. Hold on, please, not yet." Sorry, try not to overextend. Well, that's exciting. That was a cool answer for what you're excited about. Now we're all excited. So speaking of,
I know, but unexpected, right?
Yes, yeah, that was why it was so exciting, right? It's like, oh, I have another paranormal fantasy coming out. It was like, no, guess what I have. So is there what authors have inspired you along the way?
Definitely C.S. Lewis. As a kid, one of my babysitters would tell these amazing stories, and I didn't realize it because I hadn't read Narnia yet, that she was using his, through the wardrobe platform for her stories, and I was just absolutely captivated. And so then when I read, the whole Narnia series, I loved that. Also, Battle in the Langle, the swiftly tilting planet, the wind in the door, Wrinkle in Time. Gotcha. I mean, I know it's sci-fi fantasy, but that really, her books were the first that kept me up all night.
It's like, I must know what happens.
Yes. And also it's adventure, but Little House on the Prairie. My mom, she read those to me as a kid, and those really just fascinated me. I think
that had the character emotional part. Yeah,
absolutely. Character emotional part, the overcoming hardships, obstacles, odds, and surviving and thriving through it. Yeah, those really. And then the other ones that I got from my son, they are out of print. The values books. Do you remember? They're the white books, and they have like Louis Pasteur and Helen Keller, and they're like cartoonish, and they have like, yes, I loved those.
I think I read all of those.
And I went on eBay and got as many as I could for my son.
Yeah, they have new ones now that have these little biographies, but they're I almost want to say scant. Like, they don't really dive into it. It's like, I get more information on Wikipedia, use simple language for kids, but there should be more stuff in there.
And also the value books I like too, because they focus on a theme. Like Louis Pasteur, it's perseverance. And so it tells his story from that angle. So the kids can really learn what that means and how he overcame. And like same with Helen Keller was determination. Mm-hmm. Those were my two favorites. So
now that's a good play.
Oh yeah.
Miracle Worker. Yeah, that's a good play. Mm-hmm. So let's see. We met you at a book event at Copperfield. Yes. And then we were lucky enough to see you at Horror Fest this weekend. That was so fun.
Yes,
go to see Jay Mazer. She's like, Susan McCauley's here. I'm like, what? I interview her. It was pretty cool.
I wanted to hug you. There was so much going on. I don't even know which day was it. Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday, and it was crowded.
It was crazy. Saturday was beautiful. It was.
Yeah, I love to see it. I'd love to see people actually meeting, doing all these things. And I'm wondering, so this is an event where you can actually meet your fans, right? You can actually see things. You can find new ones. What do you think is the importance of actually seeing these fans face to face?
Oh my gosh. I just love talking to the readers and seeing what they like and seeing their excitement. And I was just thinking today, hopefully I'll become really, really successful, but I don't care how successful I become. I want to keep doing these kinds of events just because it's so much fun getting to interact with people. Mm-hmm. If they're not reading your book, you don't have anything. Right. You got to interact with them. The readers make it all happen. Mm-hmm. Without them, I'd be writing in a void.
Yeah.
I'd write anyway because I have to write, but I want people to read my books.
It's more fun if you can share.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. No doubt. I love it. I love seeing people. I love finding the right book for them too. Like, if you come by, because I have a paranormal thriller, but it's definitely for adults. And I like you said, with your book, that's definitely for adults. You make sure they know. And I do the same thing. It's not like, please buy my book because I really want this $15. No. It's more about What do you like to read? Come on, I'm going to set you up.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I've told people no to the Demon Tailors. I'm like, let me talk to your mom first. And the mother will come over and they're like, no, I won't buy you that one. And I'm like, put it on your list when you're older, but not right now. Because
Yep. Yeah. I tried to steer them. This one is good. You can read this one. I did have to ask one kid. She was like so excited for my books, but I could tell she was too young, not just for mine, like any of them on the table. She could not have been more than 8. And now she could have been an advanced reader. You never know. Right. And I do have some that's YA safe. So I had to actually talk to her. I was like, oh yeah. And which title do you like? But she couldn't read the title.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, And she was 8. I asked her and I was like, well, we'll write some other stuff later. That'll be great for you, but we're not ready for this. And then she walked away. My first thing was, can I take her home? Because how could she not read the title? I'm going to take her home. Yeah. This kid will be reading by the time I'm done.
Right. Yeah, no, and then sometimes I know my friend Caitlin helps me a lot and she's invaluable. And I know some people with parents with kids are walking by and she goes, hey, do you like to read? And the woman looked at us and goes, no. And they kept on walking. And I was thinking, oh, no.
That's why we always ask, what do you like to read?
Yes.
Because it's not a yes or no question, right? It's one of those sales techniques. But we are still shocked by how many people say, I don't read. I'm like, I shouldn't be shocked. I've seen the statistics, but it still shocks me.
It's upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I do presentations at school, I talk to the kids about, just reading one book, how much it improves their grades, how much it improves their, focus and emotion. And I was struggling getting my son to read this summer. And then he started The Hunger Games and he finished it in 3 days. He binge read it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And maybe you haven't found the thing you like. Right?
Exactly.
I can see that, but just I don't read. I'm like,
there's got to be something. What do you like? What do you like?
Yeah,
right.
Something. Might not be my stuff. It could be anything. It could be memoirs you really like. Yeah.
It could be sports. It could be horses. It could be whatever.
Anything.
It's out there.
It is out there. Go experience something new.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's just me. I try not to be judgmental, but that question gets me every time.
Yeah, no, I just feel sad for the kids and the parents. It's like it's hurting their future. I want them to read and excel.
Yes. Oh, question though, because you do a lot of these events, obviously, right? You like them. Do you ever notice when you get a group that goes by and they're all completely ignoring your table except that one kid? It's almost always a girl, but it isn't always a girl. Teenager that just looks at your table, and you're like, the reader.
Yes.
There's the reader.
Oh, yes.
So you get the opposite, right? You get that. You're like, I was her. I totally get her,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. And sometimes I'll see a group coming and I'll kind of know in my head which one is going to be interested. And I'm 90% right.
Yep. I love it. It's actually fun. Like you said, like we were talking earlier about knowing psychology. It's almost like we're still looking, just we're taking note. We're noticing the way people move. We're noticing the way that they speak. We're noticing all these things. So when we create these characters, they feel real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to relate to them.
Right. That's one thing. I don't know any writers that I enjoy their work that don't have a certain amount of empathy. You've got to put yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely.
So you've got to. Otherwise, nothing feels real. Hey, did you see here? Quick funny note about Twitch. It says she blows me away in many ways. When she was talking about her Sophia, who's dyslexic, but she loves to read. She even reads to the cat because she wants to read so much.
That's awesome.
So she blows me away in many ways, and the moderator modded that line because it thought that it might be some kind of sexual-based terms.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, they're trying to protect us, huh?
Yes.
That's right. Zepho will fix it. I love it. Sorry. Side note. Welcome to technology.
No, that's okay. That's funny.
I was quite amused. So what did we? Oh my gosh! I think we're just about done. How about what do you like to do when you're not producing or consuming content?
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo, yay!
Taekwondo.
That's so fun.
Yeah,
do you why do you do it? Do you do it for fitness? Do you do it for discipline? Do you do it just out of the house?
I've worked out for years, and my son really, he needed something he needed an outlet for physical aggression. He's got ADHD, and for energy, and he also needed more discipline and structure. And so I tried for years to get him to do it. And finally, when he was 10, 3.5 years ago, I got him to take it. And it was that summer, it was like parents free all summer if you sign up. So 2 weeks after he started, I started, and I took Taekwondo when I was 8, and I only got to my white belt with a yellow stripe, and so I didn't get very far. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. And so now, after 3.5 years, we're both black belts.
That's
and
awesome.
we're going to test for first degree. So we're solid black now. We test for first degree black belt in less than a month.
Oh, well, we're rooting for you. You've got it.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's one thing. I mean, I do quite a bit is Taekwondo, gym. It just makes me feel better. It's probably for focus and feeling better.
That's pretty cool. Those are good reasons, if you ask me. So
I used to scuba dive a lot. Oh yeah, I like to swim.
Yes.
I used to scuba when I lived in California. I'd scuba dive not every weekend, but a lot, and I loved that. But after I had my son, I was like, I need life insurance. I can't keep scuba diving and keep my life insurance. So I've only do snorkeling and breath hold diving now.
Oh, that's cool. Well, the water's a lot warmer here.
It is. It's very cold in California, but beautiful.
Oh, too cold. I have a thing about cold. Sorry, the audience well knows my not liking cold.
Oh, a nice 7 mil wetsuit, hoodie, hooded vest.
Just the idea that it'll be touching my face, I will die. I'll sit on the boat and look at all the cool sharks and seals and the whales and all the fun stuff, because I have to say you have a lot more awesome, wildlife out there. So I can see why scuba diving would have been so much fun. But no, yeah, I can't.
It's pretty.
Can't do it. Well, we have reached the lightning round section. So nicely done. You've handled all of our very hard-hitting, newsworthy questions. So well done.
Awesome. Thank you.
So now for our quick ones, the ones we really care about. Ready?
Yes.
What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate brownie. How about that?
Oh, there you go. Even better. Nicely done. Last minute save, so it wasn't too boring. I like it. Can zombies climb?
No, they shouldn't.
All right.
No.
Stephen agrees with you. What is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Chick-fil-A.
Excellent.
I can at least get something moderately healthy there.
I always get mad to go to Sonic, and I'm like, can't I have actual vegetables on things? Yeah.
Right.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, geez. I'd have multiple houses. I love London. Part of my heart's in London, but I also love things about Los Angeles, like the weather and the weather and and the beautiful coastline. I mean, I love those two, but I haven't also at the same time, I've traveled quite a bit, but I would really have to travel a lot more before I could give you a single answer.
Until one place. I like it. You haven't found your true love, just places you really, really like.
Yeah. I loved London. I mean, I got a little tired of the city after 2.5 years because of all the crowds, but I really loved living there with all the history and the culture. And
that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's on our bucket list. We still haven't been to the UK yet.
That's lovely.
We're very excited. The airport doesn't count, Zafo. Zafo went like this for all of you watching.
Hey. I spent a week in Henley-on-Thames. Thank you.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you went for work. That's right. Never mind. He's been. I have not.
I totally
forgot about that one. I will. It's on my list. But he was there for work, so we didn't get to see much except George Harrison's house. He got to see that. How do you like to cool off in the summer?
Jump in the pool. We do have a pool.
Good choice. It's almost a requirement in Texas at this time of year.
Yes, especially this summer, which has been absolutely horrific.
It's been hot for everyone, right? At least we have pools. When they were talking about London hitting those huge, they were like getting 105, but they don't even have air conditioning. I'm like, that's torture.
That was horrible. I was there one year where it had been the hottest since the 1700s. And I had my fan sank into the lacquer on my table, and there were these foot spots. And then I ended up coming home to Texas where it was hotter, but at least we had air here.
Yes,
it makes absolutely miserable.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to get any better, so it's time to start putting air in London, just for the record.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite chore around the house?
Probably just the epic loads and amounts of laundry that come with being a mother and a wife.
Yes. Those are our two answers over and over again: laundry and dishes. Things we can never avoid.
And a pet parent. A pet parent as well. So that produces more laundry.
I feel you. My cat wants to cuddle when I'm wearing black. I'm like, can we cuddle later? I've got something to do today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And finally, where can fans find you and your work?
Oh, yes. Well, my books are pretty much at all the bookstores, but you can find me and the books on my website, which is www.sbmccauley.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Now that Susan is your new favorite author, please make sure to review her work. You can also review us wherever it is you get podcasts. You can also subscribe on curseddragonship.com/YouTube or follow us on twitch.tv/curseddragonship. And we'll see you next week with Dan Gilmore.